This is Georgetown, the podcast. Georgetown County and the city. Georgetown is growing, changing, expanding, and blossoming. The Hammock Coast of South Carolina. It's a renaissance. This is Georgetown, the podcast. Here's your host, Scott Richards.
Welcome to our new episode of Georgetown, the podcast. It's everything about Georgetown. It's the history of Georgetown, and it's also the excitement we have because Georgetown is going through a renaissance. Elizabeth Huntsinger is with us. And Elizabeth, first of all, welcome. Tell me a little bit about your relationship to Georgetown, the city, the county, the area.
Oh my goodness, my ancestors lived here going back to 1787. So I've always felt very at home here.
Tell me a little bit about your ancestors.
My ancestor, who was in the Revolutionary War, settled here with his French Huguenot wife in 1787 and became the first Methodist in South Carolina. They are buried right in the heart of the historic district, but they have a very peaceful rest, unlike many of the people of Georgetown from their time and earlier who are ghosts.
Well, we're going to get to that because I love that whole concept. So let's talk a little bit about Georgetown over the years and where it is today. What are you seeing and feeling that is Georgetown, the growth, the changes, the steel mill? Tell me a little bit about your perspective on that.
The steel mill, day by day, we can see it coming down, and it's been there ever since I can remember. The steel mill spot is right in the center on the waterfront, so great things are coming where it is. And it may be a long time coming, but it's moving forward more towards tourism.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
I have a ghost tour in Georgetown, Ghosts of Georgetown lantern tours, where I tell the ghostly histories. And I'm wearing colonial pirate attire with the candle lantern. It's very authentic. My husband, who's also a colonial revolutionary reenactor, he often comes along with us. And we guide our guests through the haunted historic district. My first book, Ghosts of Georgetown, which is this one, it's been in publication for over 30 years traditionally. And after that came more Georgetown Mysteries and Legends. And I also have written a mystery that takes place in Georgetown. The next one is coming out sometime, hopefully early next year. All these are traditionally published, and all of them highlight what we love most about Georgetown, the mystery and the legend and the present day and how the past affects the present. And I can just go on talking about Georgetown. It's a wonderful place. It's the third oldest seaport in South Carolina, going back to 1732.
So I want to start talking about ghosts.
Oh, yes.
Because there are people that know some of the big stories. The Gray Man, I guess, might be the most popular. But tell me a little bit about the ghosts. I'm going to assume that to you, these are not just fun stories. These are actualities.
Yes, these are stories of histories of people who lived in Georgetown County, many of them right here in the historic district, many of them out on the plantations, enslaved people, people that owned enslaved people, people who had trouble in their love life, which left them with a very untidy passing. And the energy of that passing has left us with many lovelorn ghosts.
All right, tell us about some of them.
One, and we'll be right here in the historic district, one is the ghost of Pauline Moses. She was ready to be married in 1885, and her closest friend Eliza as well. They spent the summer of 1885 sewing their wedding dresses, their trousseaux at one another's homes, which were just within blocks of each other, and both in what's now the Haunted Historic District. Both young women came down with summer fever, which we know now is malaria, just weeks before the weddings. They worsened and worsened until each one died just before the wedding day, which was set for the second week in October.
Now, they were both going to get married on the same day?
Yes, they were close friends. Eliza of the Jewish congregation, Pauline of the Jewish congregation, and Eliza of the Episcopal congregation. Their churchyards are right across from each other. The one where Eliza's buried surrounds the Prince George Church, so it's a churchyard. Right across Duke Street is the Bethlehem Cemetery, where Pauline was laid to rest. So in death, they're close to each other. They were both buried on the wedding day, at the wedding hour, in what was then their best, newest dress, their wedding dresses. And they're still resting right there beneath the same oak trees they walked home each evening beneath, laughing and talking and sharing all their hopes for the future and their wedding preparations. And they died in the late summer, when it's, I guess you call it Indian summer. And on summer nights through the early fall, you can hear late in the evening their girlish laughter echoing through those same trees that they walked under during the middle of 1885, when they were making their plans to be October brides.
People hear that today?
Oh, yes, indeed. We've heard it numerous times. In the dead of winter, which we, of course, have tours year-round, it's not as often. But in the late summer, it is something we've become very used to. And this is something people have been hearing since long before any of us on the earth now were born. Some of the stories, histories in my books were told to me by family members of family histories that had never been written down before.
You're watching or listening to Georgetown, the podcast.
Let's talk about ghosts that people have seen.
Oh, my goodness. There have been numerous of them. Alice, one of the most famous ghosts in Georgetown, next to the Gray Man, she's often been seen at All Saints Waccamaw Episcopal Churchyard, where she was buried.
Tell us about her story.
Well, Alice was 15 years old when she became engaged to a man who was of, we're told, the lumber trade, and her family was of the rice plantation genre. She was expected to marry another young man in the same genre, and when she went out of this, her brother and her mother told her it was not possible, and she had to see her betrothed in secret. So much so that when her brother found out about it, he sent her off to boarding school in Charleston. There in the Holy City, she became ill with summer fever. Again, that tends to be a theme in many of our ghostly histories. And she was brought back home and died on her bed at the Hermitage in Murrells Inlet. During her unconscious moments, her brother, who was a medical doctor, he had given her an examination, and in feeling for her heartbeat, he had found the ribbon on which she had hung the ring out of sight underneath her dress. And when he brought the ring up, he recognized it as the engagement ring he thought was long given back to her betrothed, former betrothed in his eyes. And he was so furious, he threw it out into the creek behind their house. And all this was without Alice knowing it. She woke up and looked for or felt for the ribbon, the ring. Neither was there. And we're told that she died searching and calling for her ring, and still does, even from the grave.
And people see her where and when?
At All Saints Waccamaw Episcopal Churchyard, walking in the vicinity of her grave. Those that don't see her have often felt a tug on their own ring, but this usually happens after they've walked around her grave several times. And if you go down to the grave, you'll see that there is no grass around it. And this is a vast churchyard with beautiful plantings and grass. None around her stone. She has so many visitors. The grass doesn't grow around her grave. She has a big flat stone the size of a small door, and it only has her first name, Alice.
Tell us where that is. I know people are going to want to look. Where is that?
Oh, yes, it's in All Saints Waccamaw Episcopal Churchyard in Pawleys Island. And it's way back in the back of the churchyard, close to the river, in the area where others of her family were buried. And not exactly a family plot, but most of the Flagg family were buried in steps of Alice's grave. But unlike her grave, which only has her first name, theirs has their birth and death dates, and often long missives about what wonderful people they were. But Alice's brother, ashamed that she had defied him and wanted to marry someone that was not of his choice, someone he thought was beneath Alice, he wanted her to be forgotten. So he only put first name on the grave. But as it turns out, she is the most well-remembered of her entire family.
Do you have a favorite ghost?
Alice is my favorite one.
Are there any ghosts that are a little more recent that you're aware of?
Yes, there is. And this is one that I have not chronicled in my books. This is from the early 1950s, and it took place right in the heart of Georgetown's historic district.
And this
is the ghost of a man named Fat Eye. And he had a real name, a Christian name and a last name. But he was known by his one bulging eye that was likely the last thing his victim saw when he murdered her right on Scriven Street in the early evening hours back in 1952. She lived on Scriven Street. She was a young married woman whose husband worked shift work. And he being away on night shift one evening when she got off work at her store on Front Street, or the store where she worked, she had walked the 3 blocks to her home, and she had freshened up and went back down to Front Street to attend a movie at the Strand Theater, which is still there now. And she walked back home alone in the dark, the same path that she walked home every day after work. But now it was full dark after the movie. But she was completely comfortable because this was the neighborhood where she had grown up. She knew everyone who lived in each home because back in 1952, most of the homes in the historic district were more generational. Mm-hmm. And she'd grown up there too, just a block from where she was murdered. She was only about half a block from her own home when she was snatched by the throat by Fat Eye, who grabbed her and carried her by her throat over to the wall of the Prince George Church, He threw her over the wall, and on the other side, she dashed her head on one of the ancient tombstones. This was her death. And she was found the next morning in the shed room of the parish hall, some say in the furnace room, and a newspaper was over her face. And she is not the one who haunts, it's Fat Eye. When he was arrested, was sentenced to the electric chair, and he has haunted Georgetown's old courthouse ever since.
What is it he's looking for?
He may be reliving the last days of his life. He was tried in an upstate, or at least a little bit further inland from Georgetown, a courthouse, a different venue, because passions were very high in Georgetown after this murder. People were terrified to go out of their homes, even though he'd been arrested. He was found guilty, sentenced to the electric chair, appealed, and then brought right back to Georgetown, where he was tried upstairs in the old courthouse, found guilty again, sentenced to the electric chair again. This time it was carried out. He's haunted the courthouse ever since, perhaps wanting to once again renege his confession. When he found out what his fate was going to be, he took back his confession. Maybe that is in his eyes, the wrong he's hoping to right. Indeed.
Elizabeth Huntsinger, tell us when your tours are and how people can be a part of that.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to. Our tours are usually on Friday nights, and they're in the Haunted Historic District. To get in touch with me and make a reservation, people can go to my website, which is www.ghostsofgeorgetown.com. My picture is on there, my information, a great deal of information about the things we do on the tour, and my phone number. I like for people to call me. And that way we can set a reservation and set a meeting spot. I started my tour in 2005, not long after I had been down on Front Street and was asked by some of kind of distraught guests of somebody else that, where's the tour? There's not a tour. And we wanted to make sure no one ever goes down to find a ghost tour and there's not one. That way we have everyone's phone number and their contact information. So if perhaps a huge thunderstorm comes up, we can call them and let them know what's happening. So we have to have a list of everybody who's on the tour. And we generally meet around dusk, or we've narrowed it down to about 7. That seems to work best for most people.
And do you do this all year long?
Oh, yes, we're year-round. Georgetown is just as haunted in the dead of winter as it is in the height of summer. You can imagine that this time of year, October,
yes,
we have a lot more people than most times.
Elizabeth Huntsinger, Ghosts of Georgetown. Thank you for being part of Georgetown, the podcast. You are a part of the history. And I hope you'll have some people interested in taking some of these tours. The Ghosts of Georgetown.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
Oh, indeed. Yes, our tour is in its 20th fabulous year.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for being with us. And to everyone else, thanks for being a part of Georgetown, the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. And Godspeed.
Thank you for watching or listening to Georgetown, the podcast. Learn more about the Hammock Coast and Georgetown. Read Georgetown Magazine in print, pick one up around Georgetown and along the Carolina coast. Or digitally, visit readgeorgetownmag.com.